You know, niggas gotta get their priorities together. Got their mind on the wrong things, spending their money in the wrong way.
Trapaholics, real trap shit.
Say you need that car with the rims and a trunk, just like Jim. It's more than life. Yeah.
I'm telling you. Talk to him.
Say you need that LV bag with the belt and the hat.
That's all you got though.
It's more than life. Yeah.
Talk to him. Real.
Say you wanna turn up at the club, buy some bottles, impress them girls. It's more than life.
Fucking everybody.
Yeah.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Saints and Appetizers podcast. And who dat? And we're back. We're back. There was a little bit of a dead period there in the news and notes and headliners coming out for anything for the Saints, really. But this week picked up a little bit, and kind of the end of last week it picked up a little bit. Added a couple more free agencies and. Saints popping up in the news about what they might do in the draft and who the players they might like. But we have some main course for you, and let's go ahead and get into that right now. Kind of just want to do like an update of free agency since we've been on here last. I knew the second I hit the post or the upload video for the last podcast that of course Cooper Kupp was going to get signed within seconds of me doing that. But honestly, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with the Saints not paying him 45 million over 3 years for a receiver that's like one of the worst in separation and hasn't played a full season since his Triple Crown season in 2021. So the Saints are fine with no more injury prone receivers and no more just overpaid players. But anyways, let's get into the updates a little bit of free agency here. So can I get a menu? And so the first thing is we're talking about some wide receivers and wide receiver depth here. I originally, since being on here last, I was kind of hoping the Saints would maybe kind of look at Cooper Kupp or Keenan Allen, just for like a more of a bigger, good route running, more of a possession receiver. They don't really need those fast little guys that are injury prone. They already have two of those in Rashid Shaheed and Chris Olave. But what do they go out and do? They go out and sign Brandon Cooks, a former Saints first round pick, I think in 2014, and had a couple thousand-yard seasons, but then he had to open his mouth and talk a little bit of trash about coaches and Drew Brees. Closed mouths don't get fed. I remember him that famous quote from him after they like blew out a team, but he was upset because he didn't have any targets or catches in the game. But life and maybe even the NFL, sometimes it's a full circle. So Brandon Cooks, number 10, if you still got your number 10 jersey in the closet, you can dust it off and start wearing it again because it looks like Brandon Cooks is back. And hasn't been a lot of notes and information exactly on how much his contract is. I just seen that it's like 2 years, 13 million, but really doesn't show like any guarantees or escalators or marks to get that full 13 million that he would have to hit. But Brandon Cooks coming in here and coming off of, you'd probably say just off of statistics, one of his worst seasons, and I think he played in just like 10 or 11 games, so he's a little bit hurt. But prior to that, he had a couple 700-yard receiving, and then even you go a little bit farther back with like the Patriots, he had a couple 1,000-yard receiving seasons, and then even with the Rams, he was good. But he's pushing up on 32 years old now, and if you just base what he does or what he might do for the Saints off of what he did for the Cowboys last year, where he only played like in a 10, 11 games and had I think just under like 300 yards receiving. I wouldn't say that this is a big signing. I wouldn't compare this to the Justin Reed signing or the re-signing of Chase Young or even the trade for Devin Gotchu But if nothing else, it adds some depth to the Saints, because there was just like when it came to wide receiver depth last year for the Saints, after Rashid Shaheed and Chris Olave went down, the depth, the quality of players that you had at wide receiver just completely just went down a cliff, just completely fell off. So we're getting Brandon Cooks back. He says he doesn't regret how his NFL career's played out. Wouldn't take back getting traded and getting to play on some other teams and played in a couple Super Bowls even. But Brandon Cooks, he's back. If nothing else, we've been saying this quite a lot on just having these having more depth just gives you more room to pick and go BPA in the draft. It just gives you makes it a little easier. You got a little more leeway on players that you might want to go for, or just players that you need to add. So having more depth and having more depth at wide receiver is definitely a good thing. So that's probably one of the biggest uh, free agency signing that the Saints have made since the last podcast. The other player that I'm pretty excited about and was kind of following with like the Tevin Jenkins, like the guards, the offensive lines that the Saints might be able to sign, for just like a young prospect was Dylan Radens, who he's only 26 years old. I guess uh, he'll be he'll be 27 at the end of March. He only has missed 3 games in the last 2 seasons and pretty much started like every single game for the Tennessee Titans. I mean, the only thing that stops me with any kind of pause there is that he was an offensive lineman on the Tennessee Titans offensive line. So, just looking at ratings and things like that, he's not the greatest, doesn't have the highest grades necessarily in pass blocking, but he's a good run blocker. And I just kind of look at him as just a slight upgrade over over Lucas Patrick, because Lucas Patrick, he's 31, 32 years old, has always his entire career has had issues with durability and staying healthy. So I just look at this as kind of a upgrade from Lucas Patrick. I've seen some media people and fans, Hoodats out there were a little bit upset about losing Lucas Patrick, but I never felt that way at all. I never thought he was that great. Like I mean, he was decent. He was okay, average when he started, but he couldn't stay healthy. I mean, it wasn't that I think he only played in like 11 games, and there were other games where he got knocked out of those games. So it really wasn't like a full 11 games, 11 starts that we got Lucas Patrick for. And Dylan Radens, he was a second round pick. He was the 53rd pick in the 2021 draft. So you're just getting a younger, more potential player, still just about to be 27 years old. And I think Lucas Patrick, he was just like an undrafted free agent or a low draft pick. So I'm excited about that because Tevin Jenkins, he got signed by some other team uh, shortly, like right before the Dylan Radunz news kind of broke a couple days later. That hasn't been. I think he just signed a 1 year deal. I'm looking here on over the cap, and they don't have him listed on here yet. He was just signed to like a 1 year deal just like yesterday. But I'm excited about that. That gives the Saints a lot more flexibility for the draft. Now they don't have to necessarily draft one with their first in the first 3 rounds or anything. I mean, I probably like it if they did draft an lineman in the third or the fourth round, but they don't have to. They don't have to draft one with the first or second round pick now because of this. He's a guy that's got a lot of starts over the last 2 years. I think he kind of fits the mold of the type of offensive line men that Kellen Moore wants, with run blockers, nasty, maybe not quite as big as some of the offensive linemen uh, in Philadelphia with the Eagles, but still he's 6'6", 301 pounds. So put him next to Talisi Fuaga, and hopefully he'll be able to stay there for a whole season. You're not having to constantly rotate and have different mix and matches of offensive line. Just the health and the durability part about him is what excites me about him. All right, and then the Saints also re-signed Hugo Amadi, who he was with the Saints last year. And it wasn't like Talisi Fuaga where he went to another was with the Saints and then went to another team and came back. That's just a straight re-sign for the Saints, and he just helps to add some depth to the secondary and adds a good special teamer. So that's a low key, pretty good re-signing there. And there's just some other players that maybe just are kind of camp bodies, practice squad potential players that the Saints have also added. They added a Valeas Jones Jr., a wide receiver. I've seen him listed as a wide receiver some places, and I've seen him listed as a running back some places. But I think he's more of just like a special teams returner type player coming from the Panthers. And then see. Jonah Williams is just an inside defensive linebacker or inside defensive lineman coming over from the Lions. He's a bigger defensive lineman, kind of fits what the Saints are potentially trying to do with the move to a 3-4. So those are just some, like I said, those are probably players that, unless they show out in training camp and camp, probably just end up being like towards the bottom of the depth chart, or maybe they're just camp bodies that get cut later and then maybe are re-signed to the practice squad. So those are most of the Saints, the moves that the Saints have made in regards to like either re-signing people or signing a few free agents, unfamiliars. I guess Brandon Cooks technically isn't an unfamiliar, but he's not a re-sign. And then obviously Dylan Radins, who I think I'm actually kind of more excited about him re-signing with the Saints being able to sign him than I am Brandon Cooks. I'm just not sure Brandon Cooks has it anymore, and I don't really think that's what the Saints really need at wide receiver. They needed some size and durability and contested catch and jump ball potential. So maybe, hopefully, in the draft, if they have this flexibility that they now might have going into the draft, hopefully, the big tall receiver McMillan, I think, from Arizona State. Hopefully, he drops. That's starting to become possibly my favorite player in the draft. But you just never know with how these drafts play out. So on to like that leads into talking about the draft. So we talk about McMillan there a little bit, kind of being my draft favorite. I don't know. It looks as if the Saints may have their draft favorite, and they might have to do something to get him if they're really as serious as some of these headliners are sounding. But sounds like the Saints are in love with Miami Hurricane quarterback Cam Ward, and I've seen some press conferences and some quotes from him saying that he's in love with the Saints. I mean, obviously, I don't follow too many other teams that closely, so it's possible that he's said some of the same things about other teams that are in the top 10 or in that range of possibly being able to draft him. Saying nice things. You want to say good things about teams that could end up being your employers. But the Saints would have to probably go from the ninth pick all the way up to number one, where the Tennessee Titans pick. And I just don't know if I feel that Cam Ward would be worth that as a he's just not a clear cut QB1. Like, he's not a blue chip prospect like we had with well, at least what we thought we had with Trevor Lawrence several years ago, and then Caleb Williams this year. And he's just as a pure prospect with the credentials coming out of college, a Heisman Trophy winner, and he's probably not even on par with like Jaden Daniels or anything. But that would be wild if the Saints did decide to try to trade up and get Kellen Moore his QB, or who they think that they're in love with, or who we're hearing that maybe he's in love with them. But I don't know. I'm not so sure about it. Let's kind of go over some similar drafts or draft day trades that have led to teams picking some quarterbacks, and this will definitely make you cringe. And probably if you're against the Saints trading up and you're sick of the Mickey Loomis trade ups and would love for a trade back, this is probably the last thing that you would want. Like Cam Ward, he's a good player, but I don't think he's as good as what these packages that some of these teams have received in recent history to move up to the first pick to draft these guys. But let's kind of go over what some of these teams have given up. The most recent one was Bryce Young, which that was just what two seasons ago that the Carolina Panthers traded up to pick him, and so let's see, who did they traded with the Chicago Bears to go up to get the number one pick. So this is what they gave up, and this is very similar to where the Saints sit right now. So the Carolina Panthers traded the number 9 pick, which that's what the Saints have right now, and the 61 pick in the 2023 NFL draft. So that would have been like close to the last pick in the second round there. So a first round pick and a second round pick in the 2023 draft. But that's not all of it. That's not all of what they gave up for him. Then in 20 they gave up 2024 first round pick, and it's 2025 second round pick and wide receiver DJ Moore. So some of these packages could maybe if the Saints actually do something crazy like this and they go all in, that could be that they could maybe have a receiver that they could trade to a team as well if they're wanting to do this. They have Chris Olave that they're not 100% sure about him due to the all the concussions and the injuries and the possibility of having to either pick up his fifth year option or sign him to a hefty contract. So Chris Olave, if they do some kind of trade, he might get thrown into there. So that's just one example. We have a couple more here, and we have two more here. So this would be the Rams in 2016. So going a little ways back, but still very similar compensation here. You had the Rams trading up to get Jared Goff this time around. So they gave up their 2026 first round pick, their both of their 2016 second rounders, 2016 third, and their 2017 first and third round picks. So very similar. There was like an extra second round pick kind of thrown in there, and like a third because there was no player involved in that trade. But like I said, the Saints have too many holes for me to pick to give a truckload of picks away for a quarterback that really in better quarterback drafts wouldn't even be the number one overall pick. And then another similar trade to that would be the this would be the Washington Redskins. They weren't the Commanders back in 2012, but the Washington Redskins when they traded for RG3 from the Rams, they got the 2012 first round pick, the 2012 second round pick, and 2013 and 2014 first round picks. So that's the most first rounders, but you don't have all the seconds and thirds and a player mixed in within that. But honestly, I'm just negative on all of that. I'm against doing any of that. The Saints have could give up like a similar package to that. I think some people have looked at maybe giving up Alvin Kamara, Chris Olave, and maybe a first and a couple seconds, or if they just go strictly picks, it could maybe be like the 2025 first round pick, which it's the ninth pick. It's still not like that's a bum ass pick or anything. And then you have a 2025 third, and then they could give away their 2026 and 2027 first round picks, or maybe some ideas, or maybe some rustlings that you could maybe hear, or I'm sure, regardless of whether the Titans are going to take Cam Ward or not, I'm sure they're listening to phone calls. But realistically and hopefully, the Titans need a quarterback, so hopefully they'll just draft Cam Ward, and we won't have to worry about any draft day foolishness or craziness. It's a fun topic to talk about, and it's nice to hear that Cam Ward had some nice things to say about about New Orleans, and the Saints loved him too. I guess they had a lot of their coaches showed up for his pro day, and they took him out to dinner. But that doesn't mean a lot. That I mean, obviously they say these things, but the people showing up at their pro day and stuff, they may have been looking at other players from from the Miami Hurricanes, or you hear about them taking him out to dinner. I mean, yeah, okay, they took him out to dinner. That means they like him, or maybe they want to hear what his opinion on some of his players, what some of his teammates, some stuff about them. But that doesn't mean just because they took him out to dinner and they've said some nice things about him that they're guaranteed to trade up to him and give a boatload of picks and compensation for him, and they're going to draft him. Because I mean, they took Quinn Ewers, the quarterback from Texas, Texas quarterback, the starter over Arch Manning at the time. And I mean, I say most people probably reject him as like just like a third round pick, or maybe just the bottom of the second at the highest. And so I would just be perfectly fine with them not picking either one of those players, even if even if Quinn Ewers is there in the second round or third round. Well, I just wouldn't want him picking him at all. But I think I'm fine with the Saints rolling the dice right now with Derek Carr, and maybe they'll, if they end up being bad again or close to top 10, hopefully it'll be a better quarterback draft in 2026. But yeah, that's kind of some updates of what's been going on, not just in free agency, but just the off season and the draft. The draft is just a little bit more than a week, a month away, and so we'll know. And we've talked about how the Saints they have like five picks. Wait, yeah, like 4 or 5 picks in the top 100s, and like 6 picks in the first 4 rounds. So I just want to double check on the draft picks the Saints have. I know they have a lot in like close to the top 100s, 2025. And we'll get up out here. Just want to clarify here. So yeah, they have 5 picks close to in the top 100, and 6 picks in the first 4 rounds, and kind of a little bit of an asterisk next to the 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 fourth round pick in the 20, which is the 112th pick. So close to having 5 picks in the top 100s. But I honestly, with how many holes and just how much, just not even necessarily just starters that they need at pretty much every position, just to add depth, I would be perfectly fine with the Saints making every single one of these picks, which would be 9 picks. Like that would be the first time the Saints have picked like more than 5 or 6 players in a draft in several years. So I would be perfectly fine with them drafting 9 players, or if they have a little bit of movement that they want to trade up for a certain player to at least maybe make 7 of those picks, because the Saints need young, cheap talent to, if they're ever going to rebuild and be competitive and be possibly a contender for winning the NFC South, or just getting in as a wild card team. But like I said, just a month away, and I'm ready for it. I'm really, my draft day dream would definitely be getting McMillan, the wide receiver, the big wide receiver. Some people were comparing him to Megatron and Julio. That's exactly what the Saints need when they got a bunch of short, fast guys, short, fast, injury-prone guys. So, anyways, I think that's about all I have for you. So, who dat? And can I get a check, please?